For future presenters, what is something you would tell them to that they can look forward to? And
well, I'd say, the audience is on your side, so you don't need
Absolutely.
to be nervous or scared or even really uncomfortable presenting, because these are people who didn't come out to try and shoot you down or anything. They're coming out with the perspective of, we want to learn what's going on in our community, and we want to support and do what we can to help people achieve their dreams in our community.
we're a community sponsored by Kaufman Foundation. One Million Cups we started about a year ago, and October it will be a year. If you haven't signed in, please sign in. Sign in on the table. We'll get it down. Brief overview of 1 Million Cups. Today's agenda: sponsors, featured presentation. We'll learn something about polo today. Community feedback and group photo afterwards. We try to get the group photo at about 9:55. So we're the first time visitors here. Do we have a one and then an elevator? 2, 3. Thank you for Raj. We have gifts for you. Once Raj gets out the gifts, I'll let your hand again. And we go. 1, 2, 3. 3 more. Thank you. Get the 3 people. We'll start here. Your name and welcome.
Oh, Krista Harrison.
And what brings you by?
I'm working for a hydrogen fuel startup.
Oh, I'm interested in that. Thank you. We'll talk more.
Yeah.
How did you hear about us?
Yes.
Just other startup connections and networking groups. They said I should come to this one.
Good to have you today.
Hi.
Who are you? How did you find us?
Okay, my name is Mike Creech. I met Mesor last Thursday at another networking event, and he suggested that this would be a good one for me to come to. My background's in user experience, but I'm starting a food business making barbecue sauce. And that.
My name is Audrey. I am just finishing up my bachelor's at Wayne State. My background is in information systems, but my interest is more in kind of the business side of healthcare. So as I'm kind of wrapping up, I'm applying to science-based programs. So I'm looking for what the startup world kind of has to offer in Canada specifically.
How did you find about us?
My friend Juliana, she showed me about it. I was like, now that I moved back to Ann Arbor from Detroit, because I grew up here, I just wanted to get involved. I was like, yeah, come here for Wednesday, so yeah, showed up.
Great, thank you. Great to have you. How many regulars are here? Dennis. It's good to you. Barry, why do you keep going back?
Again, great people, great ideas, good chance to share what you're doing, but also learn what others are doing. And always opportunities to learn things that you may be struggling with, learn from others what they're doing to overcome those challenges. So it's always good.
As I mentioned, at the end we get photos. We are community engaged fellow members. We're on LinkedIn. We're establishing YouTube. I think we're up on YouTube now, or if not, we will be soon. What is 1 Million Cups? The mission of 1 Million Cups, which is funded by Kaufman Foundation, is to lower the barrier of access to education, resources, and connections for all types of new and aspiring entrepreneurs through the U.S. Key pillars of our organization here, we're presentations and not pitches. We're not a Shark Tank. We're authentic connections, not networking. Armand, what is an authentic connection for you?
So the thing I love here when I come is that you don't exchange business cards. It's not always about, I do this, you do that, so this is how you can help me, or this is, you know, it's not about networking like conference, it's more about friends. Like I love Tyrone. I get lots of friends and I'm like, I'm here just to see, and if I can help you, I help you, and if I can't, I just listen and learn something.
Thank you. We're run by the community, for the community. We're all volunteers on our group. And as I say volunteers, next week I know our core group is light, so I've asked a couple of you if you can help come in early and help set up. We're radically and intentionally inclusive. That's big. I don't know about communities that are so intentional on helping build and lift one another in their communities. Wednesday mornings, always free, open to the public, short presentations, time for Q&A. Some of our sister communities have 2 presentations, we have 1. We're going to have a town hall next month and open up and ask questions of what you would like, what's worked for you in this community and what you'd like to see going forward in the next year. Where businesses present from 5 years old with a desire to learn, or under 5 years old. What can we bring as a community to help you? That's one of the things we're looking for.
Yes. One meeting, please. I can't hear. You guys have drawn it out themselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Barry.
You guys can step out if you want to chat. Thanks.
This is our leading team. And how many of us are here that are organizers?
That's not enough people.
Well, thank you for volunteering. Next week, I'm hoping to see you.
Excellent crowd play.
Code of conduct, we just experienced a little bit of that. Be respectful and professional. This is not Shark Tank, as I mentioned before. Focus on the speaker's biggest challenges. Use positive, specific, constructive language in your suggestions. The organizers might issue a white card as a room's reset if we feel the conversations are getting off topic. Thank you for the example and support in the presentations. Our sponsors we appreciate our sponsors. Bamboo sponsors this room. It's co-working space. Having been here today, you're welcome to check in at the front desk and you can work the rest of the day here free of charge. We have a good working relationship with Bamboo and hope that that continues. We have a coffee sponsor. Joita, thank you, Joita. And Joita, come on up.
Thank you so much, Heather.
Good morning, everyone. I'm sure some of you might have attended my presentation and might be wondering why I presented first and then became a coffee sponsor. But before we get into that, I would like to introduce or reintroduce my brand, which is Irish Cosmetics, skincare that protects your peace. So we are a natural clean beauty brand which focuses on sun protection and skin barrier as part of preventive skincare treatment, and we are targeting small segments and connecting different age groups, genders, hormones, which is essentially the psychodermatology axis. And we're, as I said, we're natural, clean, and transparent. Now, why I think that this is so relevant, like messing the sequence, is because this, on my presentation last time, I had a form on display, and I asked the people who were there, the community feedback on the form, but this form has been revamped on the basis of all the feedback that I received from the community. So essentially what's happening is that we were working on different prototypes. I mentioned that we were on the foundation stage. But working on different prototypes at the same time requires a lot of different resources, which is not limited to the ingredient sourcing and the R&D timing. So instead, this form will allow us to shape our debut product based on your feedback. So essentially, it's the consumers who are shaping our first debut product. So I would really appreciate your feedback on this form. The form will take about 5 to 7 minutes of your time. And if you feel that someone is interested in skincare or you should get in skincare, then please share it with your family, your friends, because that will allow us to work on that one card and do more extensive research on that. So I have these laid around on the tables, a couple of you. Feel free to click a snap of that, and I also have it on the table outside. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for sponsoring us with the coffee and the
I think
treats.
so. I should thank you. People look up there for just a second, please. Let's have your picture real quick. Thank you so much. You did ask me that, and I totally forgot. So. Put the mic up. Oh, can you give her the mic?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Thank you. So how do we become a coffee sponsor? I think we're booked for speakers throughout the year. We'll see that in a second. But coffee sponsors, October 15th, we have available, or Bamboo. We have an opening for a coffee sponsor. So if you would like to pitch, this is the only opportunity to pitch your business, become a coffee sponsor, and you get a couple minutes to come up here and communicate with us how wonderful your offering is. Upcoming events, Tech 360, September 24th, Great Lakes Women's Business Council, September 23rd through 24th, Digital Empowerment, the 26th through the 27th, in southeastern Michigan, as I see. These aren't just in Ann Arbor, sometimes they're more local. Apply to present at 1 Million Cups. We're always looking for speakers coming in, and we've got speaker openings coming for next year. The criteria is your company is either pivoting or less than 5 years old, have a growth mindset, all industries welcome, no franchises, no MLMs. Presentations must be your minimum, we ask that the presenters meet our minimum requirements, which when you apply, we'll talk more around that. The goal is to help you address any challenges you have in building your business. As you'll see, our presenter will talk about some of his challenges in creating the community he is moving forward on. Let's see if I can get the next slide. There. Upcoming presenters. As you see, we've got January open, so if you wish to present, get on the January docket. With that, Evan DeSelva, did I get the last name right? Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'm Evan. And I have played polo for a couple summers, started during the pandemic as a hobby, because all the gyms were closed, and I figured, well, the horses still have to eat, and I don't have anything else to spend my money on. So I did that, and it was a lot of fun. Some of you might know me from my day job, but this is not related to that at all. This is what I did after I met Dennis at an event, and he's here today. And since then, we've been trying to build Vista Polo and Equestrian States. The idea is that, polo is a wonderful game, as I've experienced, and more people should have a chance to experience it. So kind of the problem that we're looking to address is that everything kind of feels the same. Bars, restaurants, shopping out to eat. It's like very similar experiences, maybe slightly different decor or whatever in the bars. But it's the same events, same kind of things, different day. Also, where do we have like a really great space where, people in their like 50s, 60s, and 70s can interact with people in like their 20s or their teens, and everybody can, meet and have fun. Besides a place like this, I guess. And so there's a lot of spending going on, but not necessarily a lot of community. So our solution is the Polo Club. I don't know why this is blocking. There we go. So there's a meaningful place to gather. The polo is a sport that people from many different age groups can play because everyone goes at the same speed on their horses. It doesn't matter if your knees are a little shot or whatnot. We also are very excited to bring a lot of people to the community because that for polo events specifically, because then there's more foot traffic, more restaurants, more opportunities for smaller businesses to advertise or bring products to sell at the location. And then we want to add a community model in as well. So it's not going to be just a field. We want to have housing, clubhouses, and other kinds of things. So that way people can, make this really kind of a centerpiece of their lives. So, the polo market annually, so the USPA, that's the polo equivalent of the NBA, it's also the company that makes all those shirts you see with the big, Ralph Lauren is a small horseman, but polo, it's like big horseman riding, that's the USPA's brand. They achieved over $2.5 billion in global retail sales in 2024. In the United States, there's 250 registered polo clubs. There's, around 250,000 of revenue. That's kind of your small country polo operation. People, just gathering, bringing some horses in a trailer in the field, playing a little and going home. 5 million is more of a professional operation where you have somebody who's an experienced pro, maybe running and teaching, and it's a little more structured. And then at 20 million plus, remember that's a very elite operation where you maybe have multiple fields, a lot of horses, a big staff. And in Northville, where we want to put this thing, there's about 150,000 residents in a 10-mile radius, and it's one of the wealthier cities in Michigan. It's also got a deep equestrian culture, and it's within driving distance of many other cities where you have a lot of people who are interested in going out and having a good time. So the revenue streams are going to come from tickets and membership, which includes the general and VIP, from lessons, from all the horse services that need to be applied. Those horses do require quite a bit of care and maintenance. Also the merchandise and gear, so that's like the USPA branded stuff and polo equipment. Then whenever you have a tournament, there's tournament fees, there's clinics, and we can have special kind of packages for like corporate events, kind of like the luxury boxes at the Michigan football games. And this is kind of a diagram. Dennis actually made these of sort of the phases. So initially we're planning, we just need a field and some stands and a lot of paddock space. After that, we're going to put some houses. That's where we're planning on recouping the bulk of our initial capital investment. And then after, we get all that up and running, we're gonna add community halls, some more cottages, camping, and RV hookups, maybe a fitness center, a pool, just make it a little nicer. Beyond that, when we have the lifestyle component in place, we will have additional streams of revenue. So lodgings, more restaurants and food options, also things like the pools, the splash pads. Dennis is excited about the pool. Right, so we actually have a base construction, and I put it all up here, but we don't need to get all into the nitty-gritty details. The phase is basically, first we have to acquire land, control the site, get it all zoned, do all the architectural analysis, we have to analyze the soil to see what kind of grass can support. All of these kinds of things, get approval from the city. After that, we can start building the field and some of the housing units. After those are all built and the field is operational, that's when we can think about expanding into more amenities, more lifestyle kind of things. And then finally, we're hoping to create a model that can be replicated in communities across the country. So that's kind of phase 4, where we know how to build an entire operational polo community, and we can go around finding communities anywhere in the country that can benefit from this kind of thing, and we'll hook them all up. So then, of course, there's different levels of funding at each stage. Obviously, just the initial feasibility requires significant capital investment, but nothing near like what it takes to run a construction project. And we need to kind of market this. So we need to reach out to all the schools. We need to do digital stuff. We need to make sure that we're getting riding clubs in the schools. And then polo is kind of a neat sport. Not a lot of people post pictures of themselves on polo on Instagram. So if we can get people who want to show off that, it becomes like, oh, I want to post a picture of myself with the horses too. I better go out to the club. All right, this is our team, and so Dennis is over here, and so is Greg. Our VP of Equestrian Operations, Monica, has 3 young children, so they're all 5, so we said, we got this, Monica. And Ryan is our realtor, and he is doing a lot of the work. He's helped us find a suitable location, and is helping us do some of that, thinking through some of the development and how that all works. So our asks is we want to get some recommendations for pre-development awareness and excitement, so that way we can kind of begin on a good foot with the community, get the community excited. We think that will also help with the township permitting and so forth, getting permission to do what we want. Then we want to, any advice, this is Ann Arbor, so there's a lot of technology people. So any advice on using technology to keep both the project management costs of development down, but also as we're running an operation that's producing events, it's keeping horses, it's maintaining a lot of facilities and grass and things. We need some advice on anybody with ideas on how to use technology to make sure that we're being as efficient as possible, so we can keep the total cost of participating in polo, somewhat reasonable. And then finally, we would love any advice or recommendation for as this is going. We've got to, sell housing units. We've got to advertise camping spaces. We've got to get people to come out to matches, to get people to try out the lessons. So down the road, how we can maybe advertise these things. There's many different product offerings here, obviously, but making sure that each product offering is getting in front of the potential buyers and converting into sales. So that's what we're looking for today, and we appreciate your time.
Can we trade spots? Oh, yeah.
So I promised Sheldon I would tell you guys a little bit of how polo works. So I'll give you the clip notes real quick. So first of all, you gotta wear boots and a knee pad. These are triple leather boots to protect your leg from, especially the ball. It's small and it's very hard and it goes very fast. Then you got the knee pads as well, because you're up and again, you're bumping into people. You don't want your knee to take that between 2 horses raw. So you have these knee pads that go over. So in polo, in arena polo, it's 3-on-3. In grass polo, it's 4-on-4. Okay, you've got each period is called chukker. I think that comes from a word in India, chak, or it might be related to chakra, but chakra means ball. And when the British went to India, they saw people playing polo and they heard the word chukker, so they called each period chukker. All right. The key to understanding what's going on in polo is to remember that unlike soccer or basketball, you can't cut anybody off because that will create a T-bone collision with horses. We don't want that. Horses are expensive and they're 1,200 pounds, and when they collide with riders and all bad things happen. So what happens is, you hit the ball and the ball's traveling in a direction. That's called the line of the ball. The person who hit the ball has the right of way, so they can stay on the line of the ball and ride to it and hit it again. However, if you want to take the right of way away from somebody, instead of cutting them off, what you do is you pull up next to them and you kind of nudge them off the line of the ball, kind of like checking in hockey. So you nudge them off the line of the ball, but you have the right, now you establish on the line of the ball, so you have the right to hit it. As you're swinging, people can, without crossing into your line of the ball, they can still reach their mallet over and block your mallet from striking the ball, so that's, kind of it's kind of surprising when you go for a big swing and gets cut off that way, you're like, oh geez, what happened? Obviously you score by putting the ball through the goal. And after the chukkers, there's always a champagne divot stomp on a grass field. That's because the horses kick up some of the grass divots, and so everybody goes, champagne's not required, so everybody in the audience goes onto the field, and they walk around talking to each other, and ostensibly stomping some of the divots back in place. I don't think it does that much, but that is one of the ingredients. So now basically, if you go to a polo match, you'll kind of know what's going on, and you'll know that when they say, come do the divot stomp, you're supposed to go down and make new friends and stomp on things.
Thank you. Clarifying questions. I'm going to take the lead on the clarifying question. How do you keep score? I heard that you make a goal, but is it like hockey or?
Yeah, just one.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
3 rounds. Okay. We'll start at this end and then come this way. Qualifying questions.
So this is more a question for Ryan, I suppose. But have you been keeping abreast of the Northville Downs relocation?
Yeah, and basically that relocation, as far as we can tell, is dead in the water.
You know why it's dead in the water, right?
Yes, they did not want to do some community participation stuff. We had a meeting with the Plymouth director, I think, about a year ago, and he said, yeah, they didn't want to, I think, pay some taxes and open those spaces.
And they were going to add some soccer fields too.
They were going to pay $250,000 a year.
Well, they didn't want to do revenue share at all with the city. They wanted to completely keep
So let's keep it to clarifying questions.
We'll have a conversation.
And vary the conversation later. It sounds like it's a lot to be worked out there.
So are the horses specific for riding for polo, the specific horses, or they train for?
Yeah, they're called polo ponies. Any breed can participate. In the United States, it's mostly thoroughbreds. You'll see crosses, especially with quarter horses. You're not going to see your jumping horses or those kinds turning into polo ponies. But a lot of off-the-track race horses, basically, they've got to be quick, nimble, and very, very calm, and then they get trained to play polo.
So you don't have a location set as yet, but you're focusing in Northville.
So we have a location that the diagrams are based on in Northville, and our realtor is the gentleman that owns it is coming back from a long trip, and we're going to talk to him about that. So we have a site that we like, but we haven't signed it.
Tim, then you, and then over here.
So can you go back to the screen with your phases, like phase 1, 2, 3, and 4? I'm just curious about what phase you're in now and where you are in the process so far.
Right, so right now we're in the phase 1 stage. We're basically talking with the seller. He might be willing to kind of deal with us, or in that negotiation phase to see if he can maybe get it zoned before we start putting any money into it or share some of those costs. And, you know, we're still working on all of those pre-development kind of things. So we haven't started bulldozing anything. We haven't started installing the field or any of that.
Yeah, so this is really interesting and exciting that you're trying to do the community stuff with it too. And some of this information is dated, but at one point in time, Michigan was the fourth or fifth largest equestrian economy in the country. So I would think, have you done a lot of equestrian research for the economy in Michigan in particular? Because I feel like that's when you're starting where an interesting place, but I didn't hear a lot about that research in the presentation. You might have done a lot.
Well, we looked specifically into like the Northville area, and yeah, they've got a long equestrian culture. Their mascot is even the Mustang. So yes, there is a large community of riders in Northville, but we haven't looked at maybe like the broader equestrian economy.
Yeah.
Just because a lot of the equestrian sports are based more on like, you know, showing horses or jumping or those kinds of things, which a lot of those riders become, you know, they cross over to polo really well, but it doesn't necessarily, there's not like a whole lot of maybe where like, oh, these horses can now be trained, or these facilities can now maybe start training polo ponies kind of thing.
Yeah, I have a question on your next slide where you have what you're looking for, so community support. I didn't see parking. Do you have on-site parking included in that site?
100%.
Okay. Just no, I'm a Northville resident and I've lived there my whole life, and parking is terrible there. But if you're looking for community support, I know that that's going to be like a huge issue.
So it's not one area, so it's not going to be.
Okay, so it's out in like the fields a little bit more. Okay. So that's a positive thing. I think you definitely want to win on that. And I think it's already been brought up that the moving of the racetrack is also going to be an issue. People just wondering, why is this taking over for that? Or is there confusion making sure that you're making a distinction between the projects and that they're not related?
We did reach out to them, helping them do some community service like they did on the.
So, yeah.
I just want to know the season, like for financial in your phase one, what does a polo season look like?
Okay, so we can pretty much from spring through late fall, we can have people riding outdoors. So like even like today would be a great day for riding. So that's kind of you know, what we would consider our full season where we can have lessons. And now the actual competitive season for like USDA events, you know, that might be a little shorter. Down in Florida though, they play from February through April in their season. So we're thinking that maybe some of the people who play in Florida, you know, that time can come up in April and play, you know, from like May through July or August.
So do we have any more clarifying questions? Then I'll open it up for other more.
Yeah, you go to the question.
Thank you.
Good morning. Do you know that when I met you almost a year ago, you said that's what you wanted to do? And to see your presentation today, I'm so proud of you! I am so proud of your vision. I mean, I'm serious. When I met him, he was like, oh, I'm going to do this Polo thing. I was like, oh my God, here goes another dreamer. But look at you. You got the boots and you got this. I'm so excited for your presentation. Was amazing. It was wonderful. I'm just so proud of you. There is a horse place in Saline that I was able to get on a horse for the first time. It's Esquire. Is it Esquire? How do you say the word? Is it Esquire? Get the name of it. I never can say that. But she may be willing to be give you information, she has courses, they're all private, but I think this is amazing. I will support you 100%. I'm so happy.
Yeah.
Okay, so in terms of getting the word out there for your endeavor here, do you have the money raised that you need, or is there still more money you need to raise as a result of that advertising? The reason you don't have to answer it. The reason I ask is because this would be, I think, a really good project for crowdfunding through Indiegogo. They've done a lot of crowdfunding for resorts and things like that, and you're allowed to actually do realistic digital mock-ups of what it will look like in order to raise money in Indiegogo. You can't do that on Kickstarter. You have to have real pictures on Kickstarter. But they've raised millions for projects before. And I think as long as you do like a really strong pre-launch, you could probably get a really good success rate with something like Indiegogo, because that's where your market probably would be. And then it would help you lead. It's not like you need to raise all your funds that way, but having people participate gets them excited. And since this is going to be a resort that's not just for local people to play, but you want to bring in like housing and things like that so other people can come in, this is really more of a national, event space. So
that's a good idea.
Okay.
So I don't know anything about polo. And maybe I've learned, so I guess my maybe just plain recommendation is you have a community, you're actually out playing polo today. How can you get more people, because I feel like you're going to need more demand than what exists today for polo to fill that vision. Like that is huge, right? You need thousands of people in this community that are going to come out and enjoy polo. So a lot of it's going to be educating the public and getting them into it and kind of creating that demand. And I would encourage you to maybe just, I don't know, have free polo. You want to see how polo is, come out to the polo field and, get on a horse and take it for a spin and try to hit the ball. I don't know, but get people opportunities to be able to just try it out so that you can help this, and it'll be a numbers game, right? Every 1,000 people that try it, maybe 100 are like, yeah, this is for me. Now you got 100 new customers. So,
I saw on one of your slides that you said there's 250 sites across the U.S. or something like that. Do you know what is the closest club in the Midwest? Like, where do people in Michigan who want to play polo go to these days? Like, what are the event centers?
So Monica was writing, it was in Howell, but it was called the Detroit Polo Club, but they lost their field because they didn't own it, they had a lease. So right now, the full field's Grand Rapids, and way up north, a little town called Bliss, Michigan. That's where they have it. There's also, I think, in Indiana, something, and like around the Columbus area in Ohio.
So to the question about demand for polo, do you know how well are those three that you just mentioned, are they doing? Are they extremely profitable? Are the people commuting hundreds of miles to go there?
Yeah. So they're doing well, and people will put their horses in a trailer and drive halfway across the state to play.
Yeah.
That's just kind of standard for horse people. They drive long ways with their horses, and yeah.
Hey, Evan. This is a great idea. So for everyone who doesn't know me, I actually play violin for Dexter Community Orchestra together. So he's also a violinist, by the way. So Evan, I know that there's a lot of schools, like high schools, in Ann Arbor, like Pioneers and Skyline. They also have equestrian, I think, activities. So maybe you can think of approaching schools who has equestrian activities to kind of like help market your place as well, because they are already related with horses, right? So they can have maybe kind of like move them as a channel to spread out the words also kind of attract people to, you know, use the facilities, because you probably want to have people who are familiar with horses or riding horses, because I don't know about playing polo, it's different things, you know, rather, it's different from learning to play soccer or basketball, because it involves animals that a lot of people are probably not really comfortable, you know, just riding on a horse, you know, right away. So you probably want to attract those community or people who are already familiar with, you know, riding horses and things like that.
That's a good point.
Hey, Evan, first of all, your boots are fabulous. You look spectacular, obviously, for your presentation, but, you know, we're asking for $35 to $50 million. So pretty substantial capital outlay. And now I have to build these facilities and I have to build the houses. That's a very large project. I need to maintain the horses and staff, right? There's a lot of moving parts to this. And then on top of that, I mean, not insubstantial liability, but I know a specialist in high-end PNC who could help me. But, you know, if I'm an investor and I'm putting in all my money in, you know, how am I sure we can execute this grand vision? I mean, of course, not saying you can't, you probably can. And then how am I sure I have enough revenue stream to get it out? It's like, how many customers do I need, right? I'm like, it's cool, if it exists, I'll definitely drive up there and watch you, like, for sure. But I need to have a lot of people come in and spend a whole lot of money to make this, like, go into the plan. So it's more of like a financial question?
I guess that's why we've broken it into phases. You know, so like where we get that's kind of, we've broken it into phases, so that way, like, we get the horses and the polo coming, you know, at first. And then we can go to, you know, people who want to, and maybe even pre-sell some of the housing and say, like, if you want to buy like if you're playing in Florida, you know, until April, and then you want to play in Michigan, and you want to buy a house so you can stay here for a couple months, that's kind of why it's broken up, so we don't have to
do it all.
Tell people, like, okay, build this entire massive thing and get it all up and running, and then hopefully enough people will show up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just also curious, like, have you done studies to, like, figure out what the demand is?
So that one is a little tricky. We do know that, like, especially Southeast Michigan area, there's a lot of sports fans around here. And so
really, I didn't know this.
Yes. We can offer this, like, just from the spectator point of view, we can offer that experience at a lot less than what it would cost to go to, like, a Michigan football game or a basketball game or one of the professional games in Detroit. We can say, okay, you can come out and you can be closer to the action. It'll cost you less. Your family can bring a picnic. We don't care, you know, about trying to charge you $11 for a bottle of water. And you can also afterwards, you know, pet the horses with the kids. So it can be more of a family fun. So that's kind of what we're trying to. That's what we looked at.
You know, I totally see the vision. I just, you know, want to make sure the numbers are working behind it. Yeah.
First of all, it was an amazing presentation. I told you that I loved how you matched the aesthetics right from the picture on the 1 Million Cups presentation, the slides, and your own entire business. And the reason why I say this is because this could be your advertising strategy as well. Before that, I do agree with Darryl that you should try crowdfunding, because that will allow you to have some initial capital for your advertising. You don't have a physical place or a picture to show at this point, right? Maybe you could use the places which are already there, like you play polo, the place where you learn. Maybe you can, like, capture a small video, because the feel that I get is premium. That means that in your advertising, it should also reflect that.
Yeah.
This stayed in my mind because this aesthetic continued right from the presentation to your slides and to your attire. You should leverage that, because that's exactly, the resonance will keep on coming back to people. And the second thing that I wanted to mention, well, this might be a clarifying or maybe something that you should, like, think about more. I heard that Northville has a pretty good equestrian culture. I was wondering if it was the right idea to start from that, because right now you're in the phase 1 and you are still having, like, the investments are coming in. I don't know if it's the right place to start where the culture is already established, because at that point you have to make more effort to let people know that this is what you're doing, right? Because obviously a place where the culture has already been established, you have to push the advertising more. So maybe something you might consider.
I'm very patient. Okay, so have you considered the housing piece, turning that into a short-term rental and adding another revenue stream?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. And then the other question I had was, have you considered adding a therapy option into the space? I feel like if you got people in the door with certain types of equestrian therapy, that might open them up to graduating into it and be another way of getting the community a little bit more engaged with us. Because to me, the thing that I think you might be battling is it's elite, but you want to make it accessible. So where's that right blend? And I don't know, therapy stuff feels like there could be an opportunity
That could
there.
be a very good point, actually. We hadn't thought of therapy specifically, but that's actually a good point.
So it sounds like you can have all the houses on the same property. One thing I was thinking of was maybe you'd make more money if you rented out the properties at a loss and hope that these folks either take training or spend a lot of their time paying you for, to get on a horse or something, especially if it's out like in the fields of Northville and it's like a drive away from town. And if they already live there, that further incentivizes them to live there. So those could be a great source of initial customers, kind of lock them in that way.
Sure.
I think they handed me the mic. Not just rentals, but when you think about a hotel, because if people are traveling, that is a different model. But then also looking at kind of the more low-tier, baseball parks or local, like smaller leagues, and what kind of programs they have, especially with families and things, and then that really generates. Because I think coming out not only for polo, but just going to the polo field is something unique, and then just think how there's more programs besides just.
Right.
I think this is an amazing idea for context. When I moved to Michigan from Boston, Northville, my sister was in high school class. There wasn't really an easily, a good way to find that kind of equestrian community for her. So something that I think, just from that perspective, would be looking at new build communities. There's a lot of new builds happening right around Ann Arbor, Saline, and other areas. Those are people who have young kids, who are looking for community, who want to join, and that's like the hardest part of moving. So I would recommend when you are looking at advertising is looking at new build houses.
So, Evan, for pre-development awareness and excitement, one of the things that I was thinking about was, have you already started looking at having polo matches or sponsoring them now, starting to kind of bring that excitement in, and whether that's being able to partner with the other locations you were talking about, or just getting people through the door to see what the sport's about, and just inviting them, whether over the next year and a half, you would have those type of events that just shows the excitement of what it is. Then the other part of leveraging the technology to keep costs down. One of the things, there's a university right up the road, Michigan State, that for the agricultural side, looking at turf. And using their expertise and almost that excitement of bringing in the Michigan State and that side of their technology and showing world class, because they also get props when, I think for like the World Cup, they did the turf for that and the Silver Dome and other things. And that gets you a lot of advertisement, a lot of publicity by using local resources.
That's a really good point.
Thank you for presenting today. It looks like your team is really amazing and brilliant, so you might have already had these thoughts, but I want to specifically talk about recommendations for generating pre-development awareness and excitement. And I have 3 ideas. The first one would be a focus group, having somebody bring the community in a structured place to actually get community feedback. You're going to be able to attach that report and narrative to any planning things. The second one would be an op-ed. Just as a free, quick way to get into any local papers, just sharing the excitement and what you want to start building awareness. And then the third one would be, and I don't know what stage you need this, but just getting in front of the planning commission and having one of those open hearings. Again, you're going to start to hear all the negative. You're going to live in the excitement of the spark, but there are going to be people concerned about parking and water runoff and all that stuff. And you need to make sure as you're getting to planning commission, you have all that written in your narrative so that you can get permitting easier. Those would be my 3 recommendations. And then from a community perspective, have you talked to anybody in the Metamora community? So I'm from there where it's called horse country. And so if there's money and there's a love of everything horse, so there might be some connections and stuff in, for you. There's a hunt club, but there's a good wealth of people and wealth of wealth.
Is there a polo club in Metamora? Is there a polo club in Metamora?
There's not a polo club.
There's just a club. Okay, 3 in front of them.
You had mentioned, I'm sorry, quick question. So you mentioned the one that closed down in Howell. Have you got a good team already, but have you maybe reached out to them to see if you can add them to the team, given that they built something, they've already done
That's
something?
where we got Monica from.
You got Monica from there, okay, I just that. Okay.
I mean, I think they're doing some equestrian stuff there and some like arena polo, but I don't think they have a full grasp. And when I played there, my main job is in investment management, right? And the company was like, oh, if you go and do this and play some polo, that'll be great advertising, but it didn't have the infrastructure around it to really get the community. It was kind of in the back of a subdivision. It really felt like you're out in the middle of nowhere, so it didn't have enough to get the community, a lot of people out there to be that advertising hub. And so that's kind of where I got this idea, like, we need to, because everyone that I told that, I did this during the pandemic, they're like, oh, this is awesome. So I'm like, well, we need to have the right venue to get, people to come out, so that way we can sell corporate sponsorships and people can actually get business and stuff from, all the attendees and the audiences. And so then, I ran into Dennis in Northville, and the next thing he's texting me the next day, and he's like, we got to do this. And I'm like, well, let me make some calls. So then I called Monica, and she's like, well, yeah, we lost our prize field. And then I called some of my friends. When I was in DC, I made friends with a lot of polo players out there. I didn't even play much in DC, because I was brand new to the game, but I was in grad school at DC, so I called some of them, and they're like, yeah, if you can get this going, we'd love to come up to Michigan and teach. So, yeah.
We're not going to have time. Two quick questions, and Arash, is yours real short?
Yeah, real short. Just a suggestion for the organizations working with the youth in Detroit Horsepower.
Yeah.
You know them, yeah?
Yeah.
So, that could be a good way to spread the word.
Thank you, Arash.
Kevin, first of all, I love that you're following your passion and trends. So I'm going to talk about recommendations for advertising. You mentioned that people will drive distances, so I would suggest local and regional sponsorship of events. And then for generating pre-development awareness, the best thing you can do is start pushing out some content, some educational content that leads to sales funnels, that leads to building your subscriber list.
Okay.
Celebrity endorsements. So if you can find people in Michigan, I don't know that like Kid Rock and Eminem are like the right mix here, but big name and this sort of idea of all these like golf clubs that are popping up, they're like exclusive memberships and like Kenny Chesney's a member whoever, right? It's like that exclusivity would go a long way somewhere like Northville. And doing an event, like if you can live stream like the Kentucky Derby and throw like a huge like Kentucky Derby, I don't know if that's in the middle of polo season, but maybe we're not competing with it that day, but like throwing a huge party where all these rich people show their stuff, because unfortunately that's a thing.
Thank you. So we got a question for you. How can we, help you?
I mean, we can also bring Dennis and Greg up to help answer that question.
You want to?
Sure. We've already got many good. We've already got many good suggestions. We're always looking right now for connections with people who might, have some influence with the city or know builders. I mean, we have a lot of connections, but we're always willing to talk to more people. What do you guys think?
Well, I would love to ask something from the community if I could. And if this had existed today, and Evan had been presenting this as, wow, next weekend or next few weekends, we have an event going on, a polo game from like Saturday, 12 or 2 or 3 p.m. Could I see a show of hands if you would attend?
How much does it cost?
We're thinking $30 a carload.
What if there was a charity event there and it was $500? Nope.
Raise money.
There's a lot of charity events taking place in full of
I would say that my board that I'm on would love a space like this, and there are a couple of people involved in different charities, so like a board event space, if that's in the $500 range, I would probably.
Yeah, so we're thinking like finance people, law attorneys, that kind of thing, with just that.
So we're going to break for, we're getting shots of you and your screen here. We're going to break for a group photo. Where are we doing the group photo?
We're doing it outside.
Outside. So what was your takeaway from today?
Well, first of all,
what did you find? Why did you come?
Well, I've been going to Million Cups for a while, and I've seen a lot of people give a lot of great feedback to presenters, and I've also, been on that side of the audience where I was giving the feedback, and then I really wanted to be on the side where I was presenting and getting some of the feedback. And I think good takeaway was that there's a lot of people in this community that have a lot of really good ideas that they can just come up with off the cuff. They had no idea what I was going to talk about, but there were many, many suggestions on things that I hadn't really considered, but that were great ideas.
I love the idea that we could get the perspective of other people in the community. We have an idea of what we want to do, but to see the interaction and other ways we can move this direction from that feedback is invaluable.
Okay. Dennis, how'd you experience?
I'm mirroring what both of them said, but I would also say that I'm really happy you received positive feedback. No one said, wow, this isn't going to work and I would not like this idea, and no one would like this idea. On the opposite, everyone said, wow, there's ways you could do some pre-marketing for it. There's ways you could do this at phases here, so that was awesome to hear.
Was there anything that stood out for you, Evan, as far as this is what I came for, this is why did you get what you expected?
Oh yeah, and more. Ideas on fundraising on Indiegogo, that was great. Using MSU's soil analysis department, and kind of working with their agricultural program. Some equine therapy, I hadn't thought of that. I thought of using like a high school youth program, but not an equestrian therapy program. Some of the ideas around like focus groups so that you can attach the feedback from those groups to submissions to the city. And then some people seem to have a lot of skills in or experience in an understanding of getting real estate developments, zoned and so forth. And so they were sharing, even afterwards, were sharing their ideas and their experiences. A lot of people gave feedback on the look of the project and the aesthetics, how we're trying to take maybe like a luxury board and make it more accessible. So yeah, a lot of great feedback stood out.
For future presenters, what is something you would tell them to, that they can look forward to? And
Well, I'd say, the audience is on your side, so you don't need
Absolutely.
to be nervous or scared or even really uncomfortable presenting, because these are people who didn't come out to try and shoot you down or anything. They're coming out with the perspective of, we want to learn what's going on in our community, and we want to support and do what we can to help people achieve their dreams in our community. So I'd say you don't have to be shy about presenting. I'd also say be pretty honest about where you're at. So like, we're still very early in our project, and we're honest about that. And people don't say like, oh, you're too early, why are you coming in front of us and wasting our time? No, they're like, great, how can we get to the next phase? They're not. So be honest of exactly where you're at, and then you don't know what people are going to come up with. And obviously, if you're in a business and you're building a business, you're thinking about it all the time, and you're putting a lot of effort and research into that. And so it's kind of actually refreshing, where you show up, you present, and somebody who's maybe never heard of what you're doing or never thought about what you're doing before almost instantaneously comes up with like a really great idea that you maybe didn't think of yet, just because they've experienced different things, they've tried different things themselves and worked, or you're just so focused on maybe certain parts or seeing it a certain way, and then somebody comes and says, oh, have you tried that? It's great, it's really wonderful.
so for future presenters, what's one thing that you would say that they would get them to want to present, that they would say, this is a good fit?
I would say that there's so much talent and experience and knowledge in our community that you might think that you know a lot about your business, and you probably do. You're probably the expert in your business, but don't underestimate what the community can also bring. You won't know until when you do present, you will learn things and come up with new ideas that you might never have, or might have taken you a lot longer to come up with on your own. So it will really accelerate your process in your development of your business. So I would say try to present as soon as possible. Don't think that you need to wait until it's more developed or until it's fully developed. There's people here who know a lot, and they're willing to share this for free, and everyone has coffee and it's supportive. So don't wait. You do it, sign up as soon as you can, get on the schedule, and then just tell yourself, I'm going to do this and I will do it. Be completely honest about where you're at, about what you know, what you don't know, what you're excited about, and then just wait for the feedback to come in, because it will be.
Thank you so much, Evan, for presenting today. So appreciate it. Dennis, anything?
To add on, the biggest thing is the mix of different types of industries, different types of backgrounds. So if you imagine every single person has gone through so many things in their life, overcome certain things, been in certain pinch points, to take a room full of 30, 40, 50 people sometimes and put that together about your project, gives you a very good viewpoint.
Yep.
Great.
Going back to the perspective, we get a completely different perspective from a diverse audience that allows us to think and consider some of the items that we maybe haven't given as much thought to as we should have.
Great. I appreciate you guys so much for showing up and supporting our community. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.